Hello, Tuesday. This video contains major Torchwood Children of the Earth spoilers. I mean, like, whoa. I did also have some added notes that I didn't put in my post. There are those out there who really enjoyed the series and who weren't bothered in the same fashion as a lot of fans about the death of Yanto, and I've seen a lot of them say that it's because, oh my god, the Yanto shippers just aren't rational, blah blah blah, it's all because of the ship, whatever. That's not true. While I am a Jack and Yanto shipper, and I absolutely love the two characters together as a relationship, that is not the reason that the death of Yanto bothers me so much, because were that the case, honestly, I'd whine and complain about it, and then I'd write some fan fiction and read some fan fiction, because it's all going to be out there. All the fixes are going to be out there, so it's not so much about the ship as it is about, for me, the fact that Owen and Toshiko, as far as characters, while their deaths were devastating emotionally, within the story, those two characters had gone about as far as they could go. Their development they developed as characters within the story about as much as they could have, without some magic thing taking them back to, some other point in their character development. So killing those two characters off, again, while emotionally devastating, made sense within the story. Killing off Yanto didn't. Because the character of Yanto still had so far to go. There were still so many different storylines and different things they could do with that character on his own, outside of Jack. And then also, the dynamic between the character of Jack and Yanto was such that there were so many places they could have taken that would have been incredibly interesting background to watch and see develop over the course of the series, if it was to continue. And they just ripped all of those options away. And yes, in real life, that's what happens, but this isn't real life, this is fandom, and again, that goes back to this is not the kind of realism that I get into fandom for. And they just ripped away all those options, and it didn't necessarily have to be the happiness of the Yanto relationship. There were darker places they could have taken that relationship that would have been far more interesting and far more challenging than simply killing the character. Some people have argued that they did it because they wanted to take Jack in a different direction or take Jack to a new place, but my thing is that's not a new... Where they've taken Jack, or where they seem to have taken Jack, is not a new place for Jack. In fact, it's precisely where we met Jack. Back in the first new season of Doctor Who. This cynical person who was running from everything and was looking out only for himself. That argument also fails with the fact that at the end of episode 5, the man has to sacrifice, has to kill his own grandson. And quite frankly, I think that would have been more than enough motivation to take Jack back to a darker place. But instead, they chose to kill probably one of the most popular characters on the show, even when you count in Toshiko and Owen. So, yeah, it's not about the ship. It's about for me anyway, it's not about the ship. It's about what I perceive as a very, very poor and weak writing decision. Also on the topic of writing, the writers' writing decisions, all of that, I have seen this from some of the fans, but I've also seen it from at least one of the writers, who I will not name, but he did post this to his personal blog, essentially stating that he does not owe a justification or explanation for the decisions made during the writing process to the fans. I call shenanigans, and I know this is supposed to be PG-13, but I also call bullshit. As a fan, I would love to agree with your decisions, but that's not a necessity. So while it's not necessary for me to like your justifications or your reasonings, it's not a necessity for me to agree with them. You had better be able to offer up some sort of reasoning or justification for decisions, especially major decisions like killing characters, to your fans, especially when you're talking about something like a television show. Again, it's not necessary for me to agree with them or for me to like them, but you had better be able to offer up a reasoning without saying it's pointless and I don't owe you one. Now, that is not to be mistaken for me thinking that or agreeing with the personal attacks that these writers have been getting. That is absolutely out of line. Calling these people homophobic and hacks and all of the other things that I've seen floating around is absolutely not justified. Talking about the work is one thing, but making it personal, not good.